On the final episode of this trimester, we break down the win over Carmel and give you updates on sports outside of Westfield. To be honest, I don't know where to begin today's episode.
I don't know either. We're just so happy.
Westfield beat Carmel. We've gotten used to saying that recently. Beat them twice last year in basketball, dismantled them in baseball last year, and now we created the Greyhounds in football too.
Kendall Garnett stole the show, rushing for 142 yards on 25 carries and 2 touchdowns. In fact, the whole rushing attack as a whole was on point, totaling 224 yards and 4 touchdowns as a team.
Can't let the defense go unnoticed though. Colton Vondersar is him, and that's a fact. He had 6 total tackles, 2 for loss, and a sack. Despite the coveted duo of Jack Kazmierzak and Reese Bellin being touted as unstoppable, our DBs did a solid job of locking him up, only allowing him to amass 25 yards on 5 receptions.
Evan, you stated Friday that Westfield had to find offense often if they wanted to win, and they sure did Friday. They scored 7 in each quarter, and that gave them enough to win 28-9, ending the Greyhound season.
All I know is that Friday was the first time in a very long time that Carmel has lost a first-round sectional of really any sport. The job's not finished though.
Indeed it's not. We're going to have to show out on Friday against Noblesville.
A winnable home game in November with 71-degree weather and a sectional championship on the line. You cannot ask for a better way to spend a Friday night.
The offenses of both teams have developed since their last meeting in September, and they've both figured out how to score. Both defenses have also figured out how to stop important components of the game, which will make for a very interesting game.
To hear our pre-sectional championship analysis, tune into the Shamrock Sportscast, which will be up in a matter of minutes.
Before we get on to pro sports, quick shout out to the girls basketball team who starts their season this week. They play at North Central on Tuesday. Here's that score. And they play Pendleton Heights at home on Saturday at noon.
The World Series has started, and as of recording, they're tied 1-1 and heading into Game 2 in the city of brotherly love. The Phillies came back and won Game 1, which was a fluke win, and Framber Valdez came out in Game 2 and did his thing. Once the Houston bullpen came out, there was no hope for the Phillies as the Stros took Game 2 by the score of 5-2.
Not a whole lot of uncommon occurrences in college football this weekend. Notre Dame shocked Syracuse, and Louisville dominated Wake Forest. But other than that, not a whole lot of shocks. Georgia, Tennessee, and Michigan all came out on top this week with convincing victories.
Ohio State was not so convincing until the fourth quarter. Then their defense turned on the Jets and they scored twice in 37 seconds, propelling them to a win over Penn State in Happy Valley. It was a very mild week in college football.
I say so too.
Now in NFL news, Frank Reich needs to be fired. Plain and simple. You don't punt on 4th and 1 in a potentially game-winning scenario. You have a physical running back in Jonathan Taylor and a QB that's not afraid to put his body on the line for a win. If you can't tell by my little rant, the Colts lost yesterday's game against the Commanders in a game that they should have won.
My Chicago Bears didn't do the best either yesterday. The Dallas Cowboys' hot offense were too much for the Bears defense, and they took a much-needed win, 49-29. The bright spot for the Bears is that Justin Fields actually had a pretty decent game.
Dennis Allen and the New Orleans Saints hosted the Las Vegas Raiders in the Big Easy yesterday, and there wasn't much of a game there. The aforementioned head coach of the Saints had some good schemes, and it showed in a shutout win over Vegas, 24-0. Alvin Kamara returned to his Pro Bowl form, and the Saints defense took care of Devontae Adams, locking him up all day.
The Packers still haven't won in Buffalo. They've lost 7 times in a row in the Queen City of the Lakes, and Aaron Rodgers isn't happy about it. It's almost like he needed Devontae Adams to have an MVP season.
Speaking of MVP, Jimmy Garoppolo, although he threw 2 touchdowns, he was not the only 49er with the passing touchdown. Christian McCaffrey, in his second game ever with the team, threw a 34-yard strike to Brandon Ayuk to spark a San Francisco win.
Some other quick highlights here. DJ Moore cost the Panthers first place in the NFC South. The Eagles ruled the Steelers, no shock there. Kirk Cousins showed off his wheels in a routing of the Cardinals. Derrick Henry continued his domination over the Texans. The Lions came up short yet again, and Tyler Lockett had his first good game of the year in a win against the Giants.
That was a lot, and I think that's all for this trimester. Stay breezy and go Rocks.